money showers, right? Okay. So I just want to go over where my apps came from. And that way you guys know it's not a secret. So you can delete the first slide. I tried to. Okay, it's okay. That's it. So on Tuesday, I collected an MRN. And by the way, if you guys are wondering, I'm holding up a 90-day planner that was made by a multi-million-dollar earner, Bill Whittle. It's only like $8, $9 and the home office store. So go order it. It'll make you a lot of money, more than the $9 you spend. It's an investment. So I collected on Tuesday two MRNs for 128 and 194 max cases, field training a young lady. They were CODs and they came out rated. So they didn't want to lower the coverage. So they just took it as is. And then Peter went out and met with my aunt so we could replace her current Primerica policy with the next gen. So that was a max case split between us. So
Why'd you send him?
Huh?
Why'd you send him?
Well, he speaks Vietnamese.
There you go.
Yeah.
Love it. We got people in the office, they speak Vietnamese,
Better.
they speak Spanish. What else we got here?
Russian,
Ethiopian, Russian,
Korean.
Korean? Who's Korean?
My wife.
Oh, your wife speaks Korean? Right, what else we got?
Arabic.
Arabic? What else?
Yeah.
Close the sale for you.
And he got to give me, he got a free sale, right? Win-win. So, yeah, so use your talents, guys. But I also collected on Wednesday $100 MRN on a recruit small. And the recruit is my client. She actually just joined to get a license and make money on giving referrals. And then on Thursday, I met with a client who I reached out on her birthday and we sat down to do a follow-up. They had just bought a house and they wanted to increase their coverage to cover the, cost of the new responsibilities now. So that was a max case increase of 181. And then on Friday, yesterday, I called a client. We're working on a death claim for her 1.5-month-old child that passed away. I had followed up with these clients who lapsed 3 years ago and they never called me back. I called from different numbers, this and that. But I've delivered death claims before, so in my mind, I care more about protecting the family than making the money up front. If you help people, you'll make money here.
Yeah.
And so I met with him in March, covered the dad. The dad was instantly approved, and I put the children under him. They're so happy with the process and the hands-on process of doing the death claim right now. We haven't paid out yet, but we're getting to the end of it. But Ellen, his wife, got approved for 182. She was rated, but she didn't even want to lower the coverage. She was so happy with us that was the other max case MRN that I collected. So that was maybe 5 transactions over the week. It wasn't even every day, but when you know what you're doing and you actually care about the family, you'll make money, right? So just learn and your skill sets. When you're here for just money, you'll be here. Maybe sometime you make some money, but you probably won't last long, honestly. But you want to treat people like
Exactly. And you closed 5 transactions, you made 8,000-9,000. You still get to eat out,
yeah.
still get to hang with your friends,
Yeah.
still get to hang with your parents,
Yeah.
still went out sometimes in the evening.
Yeah.
had a glass
Every
of wine,
evening.
Every evening, hanging out, right? Living the DC life,
Yeah.
right? That's what we can offer.
See me on 14th Street. Joking. I just want to live a life and be able to party the rest of my life. That's what I want. Okay. But for now, you gotta work hard first, right? So let's go into the psychology. I didn't check and tell me how many minutes I have, but this will probably take like 20 minutes. Is that okay? Okay, so I'm gonna go over how to close on a situation where they have no life insurance. Okay, so let's look at the backdrop of it. So every page has a purpose. Okay, when you know how to present every page, you will not need every page forever. But you, as a new person, need to learn everything first before you can start doing things your own way, right? So every page has a purpose. The financial challenges page is one of my favorites because this creates the enemy. And it really puts you and the client on the same page against the industry. And I throw certain seeds out. So on this page, I throw a referral seed, right? Because I want them to be able to tell me they know people without asking more directly at the end when I'm asking for referrals. So on this page, the financial challenges page, at the end, after the statistic that says I think less than 40% of people have less than 25,000 saved for retirement. That may not be you, Tony, but you probably know people like that, don't you? You see, I just forced her to say yes. Now at the end, you can't say you don't know anybody, right? Because you can't, don't lie, right? So mission statement page, how we were founded and how we're different. When I tell the story, I always start with our company is not a traditional financial company. We were founded by a high school football coach and a teacher. And I pause. Most people, when they hear that, they're like, whoa, really? Right? Then you go through the mission statement and you ask how many families need this help. And people say, what? Everybody. Now you can't tell me you don't know anybody because he said everybody needs it, right? Accolade slide where all our awards are, what others are saying about us, that creates some credibility. I love talking about the accolade slide because I used to talk about the 9/11 story and the COVID, the companies that paid out for COVID at the Primerica term page. If you don't know what page I'm talking about, ask your trainer, okay? But at the Primerica term page, but now I do it on the accolade slide because on the accolade slide with the awards, we actually show we're #1 most trusted life insurance company and #3 most trusted financial company. So I can just kind of fit in there like, hey, by the way, we were #1 most trusted life insurance company because Tony, out of 200 companies more or less that existed during 9/11, can you believe only 3 of them paid out? I didn't say it, I asked it. And I was like, what? No way, we were one of the 3. But also during COVID, can you believe out of about 700 companies that existed in 2020, only 7 were able to handle their financial obligations and pay out. And we were one of the 7. So that already automatically, they're like, whoa. Even if they knew Primerica or heard of Primerica, they don't know Primerica, right? If they say, I met Primerica before, nah, my name is Peter, you haven't met me, right? So the wheel, credibility, compound interest, this is a slide where you have to do. No matter what, you have to do this slide because when you're working with somebody who doesn't have life insurance, right? It is a new bill to them, no matter how you put it. In their mind, it's a new bill. Even if, so you have to make them see that it's not a new bill. And the only way to do that is to overcome that in the beginning to see how much they waste, okay? So Thomas, if you go to the compound interest slide. And this slide I love because you actually, you're selling the dream of being financially independent, and then you transition to selling the nightmare in the income protection slide. But let's say you take $200 a month. And first of all, Mike, these days in general, do you think $200 is a lot of money these days?
Not really, no.
No. But if you lose it, it's a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Now, you probably don't waste $200, not even every day. But if I tied you to a lie detector test, how much would you say you spend unnecessarily on things, like chips, soda, coffee, things you don't need to buy, but you do because you can. Some days you spend nothing, but other days you're like, shoot, why did I do that? But on average, every day, what do you think you spend?
I do love my coffee. So probably like 10 bucks, 15 bucks maybe.
10, 15. Okay, so let's take the lower end. So on this side, Thomas is not able to do it right now easy because he's working all these computer things. But I pull up a calculator in front of the client because no matter how easy, if it's 2 + 2, I'm still pulling out a calculator. Okay. People do not believe your calculation. They believe the calculator, though. You have to show the calculator. Then to see how much money they actually waste. So let's say you take $10 a day, and that times 30 days. Let's say you take $10 a day times 30 days in a month. That's easily $300 you spend just because you can, right, Mike?
Correct.
Which means you could save $200 if you really put your mind to it, couldn't you?
Very true.
Right. Now, pretend you have children. So, by the way, how old is your youngest child?
She's 1.
1. Wow. Okay. Well, not to scare you, but 35 years later, for the sake of the presentation, she'll be 36, right? I know it's a scary thought. So,
Hopefully not still living at home.
but if you take $200 a month under the mattress for 35 years, that's $84,000 she just saved under the mattress out of pocket. But if you invested for her at 3% a year average, that's $148,000. At 6%, it's $286,000. But take a wild guess. What do you think it would be at 12%?
Like 500,000-600,000.
1.3 million.
The big difference.
1.3 million. And I show it like that to shock you because look at the difference between 6 and 12. That's $1 million difference, isn't it? People feel like to be a millionaire, you have to be a basketball player, rock star, celebrity, but that's not true. Even Albert Einstein is the most, he said the compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. But if you knew that a long time ago, and we were forced to learn about him in school, why didn't school force us to learn compound interest? Isn't that funny? And then I think if there's any questions here, but you see how I just found out how much money he wastes? So now at the end, when he said, I don't have enough money, it's not in my budget, I can't afford it, we're gonna go back to, hey, right? And I'll show you guys the script in the overcoming objection, but that's where you plant that. You're playing chess, not checkers, right? I don't play chess for real, but I understand it's like 10 steps ahead or something like that. So, but just like Beyonce is all about transitions, I love transitions. So I love transitions. So I'm transition from here, right? Oh, and by the way, with me asking about his child, right? 2 reasons why I asked. Number one, if you're meeting with a somewhat older couple and they have grown children, right? They're gonna hit you with, well, this is great, but like, I don't got time like that, right? Exactly. Well, the reason why we use your children, by the way, is because isn't it true we want better for our children than we have for ourselves? And that's why we use the children. It's all about the next generation, isn't it? Don't pick up my presentation, you know? I'm trying to help you with your next generation. Number 2, sometimes a new trainee will set an appointment and set you up. They will say, yeah, it's qualified. They got 3 kids. Their kids are 37, 40, and 50 years old. Okay. You get in there and it's like 69-year-old parent or something, right? And you're like, okay, I don't want to ask, right? But when I get here, I'm gonna say, how was your youngest child? Now I know if I need to go straight into investments or I need to just go to insurance. You know what I mean? Again, chess, not checkers. So then I'll talk to my trainee afterwards, like, hey, So that's why I asked that. So when I transition from here, I say, this is really exciting, Mike, but it takes time for money to grow, doesn't it? Yeah. But in this crazy world we live in, couldn't anything happen to us tomorrow? So now you just told me it's going to take you forever to save, but you could die tomorrow. You just told me that. You just told me that. There's no getting around to it. I'm literally locking you in the corner right now, right? So I'm not going to go over this slide, but so you get over here and my slides, let me show where I am. Okay, so you look at this slide, and the point of this is to make sure that they understand the foundation is to protect your income. But you have to create your presentation in a question manner. I was just talking to Audrey on the phone. I said, what's the difference between a great closer and someone who's not so great? He was like asking questions. That's right. Because when you ask the right questions, you know how to overcome objections. And when you overcome objections, it's all about asking the right questions, right? Vice versa. So these are the 4 main areas of concern, Tony, that people will typically have in their financial house. 1, always debt elimination. You just want to get out the fastest way. 2, college savings or savings in general for their children's future. 3, retirement options outside of what you may or may not have at your job. Because if you're not on track for how you want to live, wouldn't you rather find out today versus 20 years later? And then last but not least, protecting your income with life insurance properly. Because when you build a house physically, what's the strongest part of the house? Foundation. Now, surprisingly, some people get that wrong in the kitchen table, right? So I do like this now. I do hand gestures a lot on Zoom because 1, they can't feel your energy on Zoom. And then you're just a talking head. So if you are moving around, just like they're watching a movie, it'll be less likely they'll be falling asleep on you, by the way, right? So foundation, exactly. If you hired Hannah, right, to build your foundation, and you said, Hannah, I don't want to spend a lot of money, low budget me, so I just, build my house. And Hannah goes, okay, I'm going to use the cheapest, lowest quality material to build your foundation. Would you really let her do that? Right, because any house built on a weak, cheap foundation, what happens to the rest of it? Right, on your family, isn't it? So can you see why I'm teaching Hannah how to protect the family's income first before everything else? That takes time. So now it's not just a life insurance conversation. You just understood why I'm going into life insurance first, right? And I'm also using the training. So there's a lot of psychology behind this. So how much coverage do you currently have, Tony? 50,000? Do you feel overinsured, underinsured, or not sure?
Underinsured.
Under? Okay. So this is good. So there's gonna be two types of people. They're gonna be like, I think I'm good. Now we're gonna fight. Right? But then there's Tony like, oh, I feel kind of underinsured. You know, you're a step closer to closing, right? This is how you kind of tell if it's a good appointment or not so good. So now that we figured out she doesn't feel good about her coverage, what's the next question you need to figure out? Because now you got to figure out what scenario you're in, right? So what's the next question we should ask, Crystal?
Are you covered for your employer?
Or private, right? Good job. Yeah, Chris, we just did this on Thursday, so. So, yeah, so is it inside your job or outside of your job? Tony? Inside, okay. You probably already know how it works, but I have to teach Krista how to explain this, okay? So I'm gonna go over employer coverage. So that was a really soft way of saying, I'm gonna show you, I know you don't know, but I'm gonna let you think you know, right? I learned that from Shaq, by the way. Okay, none of this is me, this is all Shaq. So let's go into employer coverage. You have to kill employer coverage. If you don't kill employer coverage now, while they have no coverage, you can still close, okay? They will still see the need. But then you also have their silly coworker, right? Who doesn't know how to say Primerica, right? And they're gonna be like, yo, dude, why'd you, Tony, what are you doing? Like, you pay $60 for a private coverage? You can pay 2 cents here.
Yeah.
You've been here 6, 7, 8 years. They got your back, right? But you didn't kill it yet. So now when Tony calls me back and she's like, hey, Jen, I need to cancel. Oh, my coworker just told me, she reminded me, I got coverage and it's only 2 cents. I could put this money into investments, right? And now you're trying to close her, but you didn't do it yet. So now it seems like you're trying to get her to spend more money that's unnecessary. So you gotta, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure, is what Shaq said. An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So you get here. So let's pretend that this is your document, Mike, for your job, and you also have a family attorney. Family attorney. You take this to the family attorney and you say, Mr. Smith, can you please review this document for me and my family, because if God forbid something happens to me, this is the only thing that they had to depend on. So this is a really important document. But your attorney says, well, Mike, through your job or any job, you're not the policy holder or policy owner. The state of Maryland, your employer is the one that owns that benefit on the employees. And if they own that benefit on you, just like if they own your house, if they wanted to change anything or cancel anything, guess what?
Yeah.
They can. Can the certificate be amended? Yes, we retain the right to amend the certificate at any time without your consent. What is the actively at work requirement to be eligible to become insured or receive an increase in the amount of insurance? You must be actively at work, fully performing your customary duties for your regularly scheduled number of hours at the employer's normal place of business or other places the employer's business requires you to travel. If you are not working due to illness or injury, COVID or disability, you do not meet the actively at work requirement. Termination. Coverage ends on the earliest of the following. The date the policy is amended, so you are no longer eligible, or the date the policy ends. So this next Mike is not our client, but this proves the same point. So then, once you go through this, in their mind, what they're thinking is, man, that can't be true. Hold on, right? Then you show the video, and then the lady in the video, we don't have time for the video, but you always have to show the video. If you don't show the video and it's 3 minutes long, you are taking you're taking a risk that's going to cost you probably $500 of compensation for your time that you just wasted, right? Not showing a 3-minute video could waste your whole hour of time. So put that into perspective. So show the video, let the lady tell the client, Josh, this is going to happen to you. If it happened to me, it's going to happen to you. She's going to say it, right? So that's group insurance. So you transition after that, video stops. Mike, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The moral of the story is don't ever solely depend on your job to take care of your family, because when it comes to your loved ones, how much risk do you want to take?
No.
Can you believe that can you see that why we always recommend private coverage that you own?
Yes.
Perfect. So when you go private, so pause, guys. If I feel Mike is not as open and he's kind of like, I'm gonna go further and I'm gonna show this letter from one of our clients' husbands that passed away, right? And Thomas, can you click on the letter, actually? I don't do this all the time, but I will show it if I feel like they're, kind of fighting me a little bit. So this is one of our office clients, and her husband unfortunately passed away, and she was dependent on his job life insurance, right? So you can see the date here. It says December 16th, 2021, 9 days before Christmas. And I say it exactly like that. Pause, right? Dear Miss So-and-so, we reviewed your claim for the life insurance benefit on the policy number so-and-so and regret to inform you that your no benefits are payable. Please let me explain our handling. Actively working. So he was put into the hospital, bed rest, off duty. Active work means an employee is performing the normal duties of his or her regular job for the policy holder on a regular and continuous basis, 40 or more hours each week. Therefore, as so-and-so was not active at work on the effective date of the policy, his insurance would not begin until the day he returned to work. As noted, insurance for an employee that's confined in a hospital on the day insurance is to begin will not take effect until the day after the employee has completed 1 full day of active work. Imagine getting that letter, your wife getting that letter, Shondell getting that letter 9 days before Christmas night. Can you see why we always recommend private coverage that you own, right? You just transition normally. So can you go back to the 4 quadrants? Yeah, so then I transition into private coverage. Now we want to kill cash value, trash value, and kill terrible term, and then transition into closing, okay? So there are 2 types of policies you can choose from, Mike, when you go private. One is cash value, known as whole life or universal life. It's typically 8 to 10 times more expensive than term because term is just insurance, whereas cash value combines insurance and quote unquote savings. So it's seemingly better, but in the contract, they cannot legally call it savings. And that's a red flag, isn't it? And so if you go into cash value, so in the savings component, it works like this. So let's say you were to open up a real savings account, Mike. When you put your money in a real savings account, would you rather earn a higher rate of return or a lower rate of return?
Higher.
Right. And once your money is in a real savings account, would you rather your money belongs to you or you have to borrow it from the bank because it belongs to them now and pay them back with interest on your own money?
Oh, definitely myself.
Absolutely. And you know how some families fight over money when people do pass away?
Mhm.
Would you rather your family still receive the money? Or would you rather Bank B say, no, we don't want your family fighting, so we'll do you a huge favor. We'll just keep your money. That way they don't need to fight.
I'd rather my family get it.
Exactly. And anybody being asked these questions that directly always pick Bank A. But when it comes to dealing with someone who's just a life insurance agent or just a life insurance company, they always try to get you into Bank B, and you would never knowingly put your money into an account that works that way, would you?
No.
But if you found out you were unknowingly putting your money into an account that way, how quick would you want to find out? Or how
Immediately.
quick would you make a change?
Immediately.
So I just closed it before I closed it, right? So questions. I recommend you guys watch this video again because there's a lot of questions that lead into the close and you got to hit on all of them. Because what I'm doing is I'm overcoming the objections before they come up. After a while, you do so many, it's only but so many objections somebody can give you. So now you just overcome them. So then after this, you play Dave Ramsey. Mike, have you heard about Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman, by the way?
Yes, I have.
Awesome. This is Dave Ramsey on whole life. Boom. Press play. Let Dave Ramsey do the work. He'll close them on it, or even if they have whole life where he thinks he finds out, it's done. So that's that. He'll play. After it's done, you transition to term. So we only believe in term, just like Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey talk about, as you saw Dave just now, but Susie says most of us only need a life insurance policy for a set period of time until the toddlers are adults and supporting themselves, or until we have time to build up our own assets. But not all term is created equal, right? Because these companies out here, they're smart too. They know Susie and Dave exist. They know we exist to teach you how not to have to pay for life insurance your whole life. But, so what they're gonna do is give you a term, but a very low quality term. Where, do you think they're gonna actually help you save on the sides and one day you don't have to pay them your whole life anymore?
No.
Right, so they're gonna try to convert you later to cash value. And even if you wanted to keep the term, it'd be very unaffordable to renew it, like at State Farm. And I call them Snake Farm. So this is $1 million coverage on each husband and wife in their 30s. They pay only $138 a month, which doesn't sound very bad, Mike. But in the fine print, it says after the first 20 policy years, premiums increase significantly and continue to increase annually for both husband and wife until it looks like this, from $1,600 a year to $55,000 a year. Would you ever pay that?
No.
Right. But can you guarantee that you'll never need another dollar of life insurance later?
No.
Right. But so even if you wanted to pay that, it would make you reprove your health most times to even keep it going. And what are the chances you'll be healthier 20 years later?
Almost none.
I just overcame that, right? So our company, we call ourselves a one-trick pony, meaning if you go to a show, the pony has one trick, it better be a good trick, right? We're the only company that offers term 100% of the time. Everything else is about everything we talked about in the house, getting you out of debt, saving a lot. So we have a couple benefits. Number one, terminal illness rider up to 70%. So this is where I like to test the trainee to make sure they're paying attention, right? So I'll just be like, hey, Daniel, tell Mike what terminal illness rider means, right? Then I'll figure out if they're paying attention or not. Now the pen's back in the hand, right? So 70%, we're rated A+ by AO's Best, third-party rating company. But my favorite to talk about is a brag about is 93% of our claims are paid within 14 days, 2 days on record. So before I go into actually close mode, I tell a story, and then that locks them in for wanting to get a quote, right? You may not close right then and there, but you're gonna close on the carry if they have no coverage. So 14 days, 2 days on record. And because one of the biggest things that happen is when somebody passes away, aren't families scrambling for paperwork? A lot. So what we do is we meet your beneficiaries and emergency contacts to prevent that from happening. So I've been here for enough time to unfortunately have to deliver death claims. And one of my clients named Reggie, him and his wife became clients in July 2017. In October, they separated to divorce, and he changed his beneficiary in November to Barbara, his daughter, who I met with immediately. And that was a 10-minute meet and greet, right? But then the very next month in December, her father passed away of a heart attack on the job. Within 2 hours, she called my cell phone. Within 4 hours, I was at her house with the paperwork. We paid out $100,000, no questions asked. That was hand delivered by me and my vice president. And he was my client for less than 6 months if you do the math. That's a big difference, isn't it? Can you see why you should have coverage with our company? And that's how I transitioned into closing and going into this slide, which I don't have time for, but we can continue next time.
You can do a little bit.
A little bit? Okay. Yeah, so once they say, yeah, I see why, So Mike, you said you didn't have any coverage. Usually when a responsive one, I learned this from Samir. This is all Samir, by the way, okay? We used to have to draw it out. Now it's on the presentation. So all you have to do is read it, which is great. So currently, usually when a responsible parent like yourself doesn't have any coverage, Mike, private coverage, usually it's due to one of these following 3 reasons. Either one, you didn't think you needed it. Like, nah, I don't really care about my family if I pass away. We know that's not you, so we could just scratch that out, right? Number 2, maybe you didn't think you could afford it. Or maybe 3, you just never got around to it. Maybe, classic case of procrastination, you're just busy, right? Everybody does that. But which one do you feel best describes you?
Number 3.
Okay, great. We can definitely get around to it today. So let's back up real quick. Let's say he says, I don't think I could afford it. Right? So just say I couldn't.
I just didn't think I could afford it.
That's completely fine. A lot of families I speak to feel the same way. They feel that life insurance is more expensive than it actually is. But we have policies that fit virtually between every budget. However, we don't want you to think that this is just another bill that you would have. We just want you to use the money that you're already kind of using in your budget to do better for your family. For example, if I use maybe, the money you were spending here or there every day, that's $300 a month. I don't want you to do that each month towards life insurance, okay? But what I do want you to do is take a percent of that 300 and put it towards something for your family that's more important than a bag of chips. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So let's say he fights me on that still, and he's like, yeah, I gotta think about it, right?
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I just need to think about it right now.
Okay, so that doesn't mean he can't afford it. That means he doesn't think he needs it. Now we gotta go into hard close mode, which we don't have time for today, right? But you gotta know what type of rejection you're dealing with by asking questions, right? Because if you say the right thing when he says I couldn't afford it, and you're like, why didn't I close? It doesn't work. That's not it. It's because it's not that. It's not number two. It's actually number one that you're dealing with. He's just not gonna say I don't care for my family. He's just not gonna do that, especially not in front of Shonda, right? Because then she's gonna close it. Now I gotta get her to close it, right? So anyways, didn't get around to it. We can definitely get around to it today. So is protecting your family important enough? You would be willing to begin setting aside some money each month to take care of this?
Yes.
Great. And if the trainee and I can put together a program that would be affordable for you, it makes sense. Is there any reason you would not implement that program?
No.
Awesome. Transition question. Has anyone ever helped you calculate the amount of coverage you need?
No.
No? Okay, so this is how we calculate it. Then we go to theory of decreasing responsibility. And then that's when we go into collecting data at the theory and then crunching numbers, getting referrals, and submitting an app. Okay? All right, guys. Hope that helps.